Last night, I made an effort to make my wife feel special. Our relationship has been strained recently, so I wanted to turn things around. I had taken a day off from work, supposedly to bring our two kids, a boy and a girl, Jack is 14, Chaina is 12, to a soccer camp for a week, but my main goal was to create the perfect atmosphere. I sent my wife 2 dozen long stem red roses to her workplace. The note I wrote read, "Roses are red. My love for you is true. My plans for tonight will make it clearer to you. Dinner's on me. Dessert is just you seconds and thirds. I guarantee you I wanted to ensure everything was perfect for our night together." Melinda walked into the room, looking stunning in a simple yet elegant dress. She couldn't help but smile as she took in the thoughtful setup. "Wow, this is amazing," she said, her eyes sparkling with appreciation. I led her to the table, where candles and soft music created a warm and inviting atmosphere. Melinda's eyes widened as she took in the details of our intimate dinner. "You really didn't have to go this far," she whispered, her cheeks flushing a light pink. I took her hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. "I wanted to make tonight special for both of us," I replied, my voice filled with warmth and affection. As we enjoyed our dinner, we laughed and shared stories, making the evening even more enjoyable. After we finished eating, I suggested we move to the living room to enjoy some dessert and a movie. Melinda agreed, and as we settled into the couch, I handed her a plate of decadent, chocolate-covered strawberries. She took a bite, her eyes closing in bliss as the flavors danced on her tongue. The movie played in the background, providing a perfect soundtrack to our cozy night together. As the credits rolled, Melinda snuggled closer to me, her head resting on my shoulder. I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her even closer. Our eyes met, and in that moment, I knew we both wanted the same thing. With a gentle smile, I leaned in and gave her a tender, loving kiss. Melinda, dressed in a beautiful red outfit, caught my attention. Our evening started with dinner and beverages, leading to a light-hearted stroll towards our bedroom. As we arrived in the room, I carefully removed her clothing, building a sense of excitement. On the bed, I showered her with gentle kisses, concentrating on her sensitive areas and neck, creating a blend of pleasure and fun. She gently guided my head towards her. With a sense of playfulness, I slowly made my way down her body. I teased and caressed her, focusing on her sensitivity. She responded with soft meows, enjoying the attention. As I finally reached her most intimate spot, I carefully and softly explored, using various techniques to bring her pleasure. Her body tensed, and she cried out, overwhelmed by the sensation. Under the warm sun, they shared a playful moment in the park. As laughter filled the air, they raced towards each other, their hands outstretched. In a tender embrace, they paused, their eyes locked in a loving gaze. Hand in hand, they continued their journey, cherishing the simple joy of being together. I expressed my love for her deeply. Our emotions intertwined as we embraced each other. Our connection grew stronger as we shared tender moments together. We whispered sweet nothings, our hearts beating in unison, creating a beautiful harmony. Our love transcended any physical boundaries, leaving an indelible mark on our souls. Then I gently caressed her, focusing on her pleasure. I tenderly touched her, creating a connection. As she moaned, her head moved from side to side, seeking more. I supported her, hooking her heels on my shoulders, and began to caress her gently. I told her I was going to support her, focusing on her pleasure. Her face displayed a mix of emotions. She desired his presence, but not in the way he initially planned. They had previously shared intimate moments, but only when she was heavily intoxicated. Now, she wasn't under the influence, yet she couldn't escape the feeling that he wanted to discuss the matter further. He had no intention of forcing her, but his eagerness was evident. With a hint of humor, he asked, "Can you forgive me for being such a difficult person these last few weeks?" He hesitated before answering, then gently pressed his lips against hers. As their kiss deepened, they both felt a spark of connection. He held her hand, guiding her through the crowded room, their eyes locked in a loving gaze. The night unfolded with laughter, dancing, and shared moments. As the evening came to an end, they stood by the window, gazing at the stars, hand in hand, feeling the warmth of their love. She realized what was going on and increased her energy, determined to outdo the other person. They stepped back, avoiding each other's movements. She laughed as she saw her friend sit down on the floor, exhausted. Her friend couldn't help but smile as they watched their friend reach for a final moment of relaxation. Exhausted, they crawled into bed and fell asleep instantly. They woke up early the next morning, showered, and left before their friend even knew they were gone. They left a note explaining that they needed to work late to make up for taking the day before off. Today, Timothy Allen Pick was ready for anything. Timothy Allen Pick, was waiting in ambush for a friend. He checked his watch, anticipating their arrival. Any minute now. Melinda, my wife of 16 years, had become distant, and our relationship was struggling. We had less intimate moments together, but she started dressing more seductively. At first, I dismissed these changes as normal fluctuations in a long-term relationship. However, as time went on, I couldn't ignore the growing uneasiness I felt. One evening, Melinda and I went out for dinner without the kids. She seemed unusually radiant, as if she had a secret. Her eyes and movements hinted at a recent, enjoyable experience. Later that night, when I anticipated spending some quality time with her, she mentioned having a mild yeast infection and declined any intimate contact. Intrigued, I decided to uncover the truth behind her mysterious aura. I began observing her closely, noticing her absence, inspecting the laundry, and attentively listening to every word she spoke. It's incredible the insights you gain from casual conversations when you truly focus. I believe a woman will go to great lengths to avoid directly lying. This doesn't guarantee the truth, but it emphasizes the importance of closely listening and interpreting the various meanings behind spoken words. It's like playing verbal chess, numerous possibilities and combinations to consider. I was taken aback by the underlying disrespect that seemed to taint our conversations. A sense of condescension was unmistakable. It appeared as though my previous standing in our relationship had shifted, and we were no longer equal. Additionally, it was challenging to reach her at work on Tuesdays and Thursdays afternoons. Although my suspicions had grown stronger, I still didn't believe there was a reason to consult a lawyer. However, I discovered what I needed: tangible proof, a pair of lace panties, stained with evidence of another's touch. I recalled the last time I'd seen her wear those panties, and it was clear that the dates didn't align. The difference between the two dates left no doubt in my mind. She had been unfaithful. In my eyes, she was now more likely to be guilty than innocent. Melinda hesitated, but I insisted. "Come on, you know you want to." She took a deep breath and began to unbutton her blouse. As she revealed more and more, her inhibitions seemed to fade. Finally, she stood before me in just the black, sheer panties I had requested. Her eyes met mine, and I could see the mix of excitement and apprehension in her gaze. "Come on, Melinda. You know I've been looking forward to this." In reality, it had only been 2 weeks, but I wanted her to think it was longer. I playfully wiggled my finger at her. "It's been 2 weeks since we last had fun together," she confirmed. "Well, let's make it a special night," I suggested, giving her a warm smile. "I'm looking forward to our date tonight," Melinda said with a smile. I nodded, excited for our time together. As she prepared to leave, she took her time removing her accessories, revealing a bit of leg, but keeping her true intentions hidden. Her blouse came undone, each button revealing more of her mysterious outfit. Finally, she wore a sheer black top, adding an air of allure to her already captivating presence. Melinda gracefully spun around, showing a hint of her shoulder blades. With a teasing smile, she unclasped her bra and slowly turned back, cradling her breasts in the bra cups. She then bent forward, lowering the cups as she playfully taunted, "Ready for this, huh?" Lifting the bra away, she tossed it gently at her partner, who couldn't help but hoot in anticipation. With a mischievous glint in her eye, Melinda playfully asked, "Ready to see those panties, babe?" Her partner eagerly rubbed his crotch in response. A wave of anticipation briefly washed over Melinda's face, but it only fueled her partner's excitement. He stood in anticipation, ready for the thrilling moment. Melinda, not one to disappoint, began unzipping her skirt and bent over, hooking her thumbs in the material. Her partner, eager for a glimpse, exclaimed, "Stop! Straighten up, Melinda. I want to see your curves through the sheer." "Hey, who's doing this dance anyway?" She tried to joke, but a serious undertone was apparent. "Hey, I thought this was for me. I want to see that outfit you're wearing." "What's the big deal with that outfit, Tim? Come on, I'm excited. You're excited. I gave you that outfit as a gift last year, remember? It symbolizes our relationship, our special moments. Come on, humor me, reveal the outfit, and let me see it." Melinda let the skirt fall, revealing her outfit. It was a simple, yet elegant design. She put her hands on her hips. Ta-da. I was momentarily taken aback. I hadn't anticipated this situation. Thankfully, I maintained my composure. A blush would have been awkward at this point. I quickly regained control. "Could you find the black panties, please? Wear them and try again?" Tim, take a closer look. I went the extra mile for you. I'm bare down there. Yeah, I know, I replied, proud of my restraint and witty response. I asked to see my wife in black panties, not my wife dressed like a model. A model? She was momentarily off balance, then her disrespect for me surfaced. I did this for you. You know what? Forget it, she said, clearly frustrated. I'll just wear something else. No, you need to wear the black panties, I insisted. They look great on you. She rolled her eyes, but she knew I was right. Fine, I'll find them, she said, storming off to search for her black panties. As she left the room, I couldn't help but feel a sense of victory. I knew that once she put on the black panties, the night would go as planned, and, as it turned out, it did. I told you I couldn't find them, she said, growing increasingly frustrated. I remained calm. I'm just the one who gave them to you and asked you to wear them for him. I shrugged, trying to appear innocent. If you had said something earlier, I wouldn't have insisted. All you had to do was be truthful. What's so hard about that? I recalled the last time she wore them, right before my trip. She looked stunning as we prepared for bed. Maybe they got kicked under the bed, I suggested. Look, Tim, can we just forget about the panties right now? She asked, her horniness fading. Doubt crept into her eyes. Can't we just make love? Sure, no problem. Melinda sighed in relief. I wasn't done with her yet. I think I remember where I bought those. Man, they really meant a lot to me. Yes, Tim. Her voice was edged with wariness. I can see that. She stepped back from the bed, her desire clearly ebbing. The last time I saw you with them on was right here in this room. I rolled off the bed and knelt beside it, lifting the sham. You took them off before we had sex, right? I think you were standing right about here, remember? I remember, Tim. I was standing here. I took them off and we had sex. But now I'm standing here. I'm not wearing them, and I seem to be developing a headache. I think I'll give you a rain check on the rest of the evening. Melinda began to pick up her clothes. Whoa, what's going on? It's just a missing item. No big deal. Melinda looked upset. Are we okay, Melinda? Is there something you want to share with me? I mean, it's been a while since we last spent time together, and now I'm in the doghouse over a simple request. Why didn't you just tell me you couldn't find the item? What's so hard about being honest? I don't know. I didn't want to let you down. I know we're both busy with our careers and families. I guess I made a small issue into a big one. I'm sorry. Me too. Well, how about we reschedule? Well, look at that. I smiled as I held up the old socks and offered them to her. She took them, looking confused, slightly shocked, and then surprisingly determined. So that's where they've been? I thought I'd looked there. I had to admit she recovered quickly. Go ahead, put them on. They're worn out, Sarah. I'll make sure you're the first to see them after I mend them. That's it? I couldn't help but admire her boldness. Is there something else? We haven't had a movie night in 2.5 weeks. We agreed the last time you wore these, you'd put them away before we watched a movie. Explain to me why they're all dusty. I made sure not to sound accusatory. It looks like a bit of dust. What followed was a masterful display of deception and avoidance. We misrepresented our past encounters, providing incorrect dates and times. She even exaggerated her realization that I suspected her of being involved with someone else. I was accused of being jealous over an insignificant matter. The climax, she found it endearing that I suspected her of being overly promiscuous. I profusely apologized for my jealousy and memory errors. A sense of victory shone from her eyes, believing everything was resolved. However, things were far from okay. She was incorrect, it wasn't trivial, and there was nothing charming about being unfaithful. I was well aware of that fact. My feelings transformed into a quiet, intense frustration. My frustration shifted my perspective. I was no longer uncertain. I knew then that she was seeing someone else. As far as I was concerned, our relationship had come to an end. I knew, and soon she would know that I knew. When you're no longer in denial, you can discover a lot in a short period of time. I wanted undeniable proof. I wanted to catch her in the act, and I was willing to go to great lengths. It's incredible what can be done with modern technology, such as GPS equipment, tapping your own phones, a bit of computer sleuthing, and digital voice recorders. Before long, I had a clear understanding. Who he was, what they did, how frequently, and most importantly, when they planned to meet next. Melinda and Ernie were close friends who met occasionally. They would sometimes hang out at a local spot in town. It was surprising to listen to their conversations, as Melinda seemed to view their meetings as a part of her routine. She didn't show any guilt or concern for anyone else. When I realized her lack of empathy and disrespect, I shifted from thinking about reconciliation to seeking justice. Melinda had to pay for her actions. I didn't plan to defend her. She had become the opposition. I was determined to fight her for everything. It's incredible what clarity can do for you. I can even pinpoint the precise moment I reached that turning point. It happened during the hearing of one side of a conversation, shortly after the panty incident. A car voice recorder captured this side of a cell phone conversation between Melinda and Loverboy. Melinda: suspicious? Not anymore. Tim trusts me completely. You should see him go out of his way to be nice to me. It really is quite cute. Melinda: I just told him that the mysterious stain on his dirty underwear was from me. I mentioned how I'd been searching for those panties for a while. He believed me without question. Melinda laughs. Yeah, but he's my silly husband. Melinda: I'm almost there. Just give me a moment. Melinda: No, Ernie, I've told you before. I love Tim. He's my husband. Melinda: I love you too, Ernie, but in a different way. Thank goodness I don't have to choose. I have the best of both worlds. A husband who makes love to me and a lover who, well, sometimes it's surprising what you can think when you don't care about someone else. She was going to pay, in a big way, just playing the cards life dealt her. My revenge plan had multiple stages. I wanted Melinda to experience both short-term and long-term pain. She was the one I targeted, while Ernie was merely collateral damage. Protecting our kids from the initial fallout of our family's breakdown was important to me. I wanted them to blame Melinda for everything, so their timing played a role in my plan. I waited until the end of the school year and arranged for them to attend a week-long soccer camp at a university a couple of hours away. The camp took place Monday through Friday. On Monday, I dropped the kids off at camp and spoke with the directors about my marital issues. I mentioned potential drug use, which caught their attention. I planned to file for divorce soon, to protect the kids from the initial emotional turmoil. The directors were understanding. On Tuesday, the day of reckoning, Melinda had a meeting with Ernie at 4 p.m. I spent the day preparing for the divorce, ensuring everything was in order. Papers, locks, finances, timing was crucial. I couldn't help but smile when I noticed her car pull into the parking lot. Our plan was finally in motion. I immediately called Melinda's office as soon as I spotted her vehicle. I left a brief message on her voicemail, letting her know there was an urgent matter and to contact me on my cell phone as soon as she could. A few minutes later, Ernie arrived, surprisingly young, probably in his mid to late 20s. As I saw Melinda passionately kissing Ernie, my last doubts about my plan vanished. I dialed her phone, knowing she'd likely let it ring while locked in the embrace. True to my prediction, she reached her voicemail and I hung up, calling again. I expected her to either turn off her phone or leave it in the car for a deniable excuse later. She opted for the second choice, locking it in the vehicle. I left a message about a family emergency, urging her to call me back as soon as possible. I began calling and hanging up every few minutes, intending to leave numerous missed call notifications on her phone. I waited around 20 minutes, assuming they were at the very least deep in conversation, then parked near Melinda's car. I opened my trunk, wanting to appear casual in case anyone noticed. I discovered that by unscrewing the inner part of a tire valve stem, air would quickly escape. In less than 3 minutes, I successfully flatted both driver's side tires on Melinda's car and reattached the inner valves. Using shortened roofing nails, I embedded them into the tire tread, giving the impression that Melinda had driven over a bunch of nails. Ernie's truck got a surprise makeover. Though I didn't intend to cause him any harm, I took the chance to play a prank on him. I borrowed a small floor jack and raised the front of his vehicle. I slightly loosened the oil pan bolt, leaving it barely hanging on. I lowered the car, put the jack in my trunk, and closed it. In just 15 minutes, I completed my task and drove away. I eagerly awaited their reaction to the unexpected change. 2 hours later, they emerged from the room, sharing warm smiles and playful touches. Melinda's demeanor had softened, but her energy returned when she noticed the flat tires on her car. She gestured wildly, trying to convey her frustration. Ernie seemed to make matters worse with a misguided comment, causing Melinda to turn and chastise him. She located her phone and car key, her expression changing as she saw the missed calls. It was time for the show to begin, and they prepared for their performance. Hi, Name, I apologize for not responding earlier. I was occupied with some important matters. I am currently not at the workplace. I interrupted her. I started crumpling some paper and changing my voice. Quiet, listen. There's an emergency at the soccer camp. 2 kids have been taken to the hospital. They need urgent surgery. The doctors aren't sure if they'll make it. Hurry, my phone battery is dying. Are you getting this? I'll meet you at the hospital. Hurry, Melina. I ended the call and shut off my phone. She shouted into the phone, her voice filled with urgency. Quickly, Melinda sprang into action. She guided Ernie to his car, and they sped off towards the freeway. I patiently waited until they disappeared from view, then made my way to Melinda's vehicle. Carefully, I removed the fake nails from her tires and replaced them with cans of Flat Fix. Melinda needed her car by the end of the day. Afterward, I made 2 more calls before heading home. I drove towards the freeway they would use to reach the university. I stopped at the first emergency call box on the freeway and took out 2 voice recorders. Soon I was speaking with the State Highway Patrol. I lowered my voice and added a southern drawl. Hi, officer. Want to report a case of road rage? I guess you'd call it. I was going the speed limit. I said that with emphasis. And this blue Toyota pickup just came flying up behind me, right on my butt. Excuse my language. Suppose I should have pulled over, but... Well, anyway, this crazy guy starts leaning on his horn. Then he swings out around me. I'm surprised he didn't hit anyone. And swerves up right next to me. Nearly hit me, but I had my family with me. The driver sped up and cut in front of me. I got a partial plate, last 3 numbers, 392. My name is Harold. I was recording and my wife called saying the driver had a gun, but I didn't see a gun. I just want to share my story. I pressed the second recorder. So those crazy people can track us down and kill us? Hang up, Harold. Hang up right now. Like this, Harold. I disconnected the call. I'd recorded phrases with a woman at work who had a booming southern drawl. I told her it was for a practical joke on my brother-in-law. She gave me half a dozen takes without batting an eye. I got back in my car and headed home. On the way, I called the soccer camp people and, in a world-weary voice, informed them that telling my wife I was divorcing her had not gone well. I told them she had gone ballistic and threatened my life. I warned them that she and her lover might be on the way there to try and take the children. They needed to be prepared. I informed them that I was verifying they wouldn't allow the children to be with their mother, as she had a history of drug use, and it wasn't a secure environment for them. The camp staff showed empathy and agreed to keep the situation confidential, sharing information only when essential. An hour passed, and I was at home, enjoying pizza and a soft drink. I anticipated Mayanne's arrival in about an hour, assuming she contacted the sports camp to confirm the kids' well-being. I doubted this, as I organized everything, and she didn't have the camp's name or number. If she reached the university, she'd discover there was no university medical center or hospital. If she got there, I smiled, considering the possibility of them on the side of the road due to a missing oil drain plug. A few hours later, the camp contacted them with an update. Melinda and a male companion had arrived, accompanied by state police. The police had stopped them for speeding and thoroughly searched them for weapons due to a road rage report. The camp officials confirmed that the kids were safe, but wouldn't allow Melinda to see them without her husband present. When asked about the situation, one of the camp staff brought up Melinda's divorce and questioned if the man was her husband or lover. This shocked Melinda, who then became emotional. The state police intervened, escorting Melinda and Ernie off the campus grounds. Then the soccer camp folks made my day. I couldn't have planned this part. While Melinda and Ernie were talking, one of the staff mentioned a drug user reference to the police. They pulled Ernie over just after they left the campus and searched him again. Evidently, Ernie got upset and got into a heated exchange with one of the officers. They arrested him for driving while impaired. Melinda was deemed emotionally distressed and was taken into temporary custody as well. After speaking with the camp folks, I received a call from the state police. I had a pleasant conversation with Sergeant Waterston. I informed him about my wife's infidelity and how I decided to file for divorce. I provided his lawyer's contact information. The sergeant asked if I could be available for further discussion with my wife. I agreed, but cautioned that she might deny everything. I even offered that a vaginal swab could be taken if needed, but the sergeant declined. A half hour later, he received a call. They were releasing Melinda, and his wife wanted to talk. He informed the sergeant that Melinda could contact her lawyer using the provided number. The sergeant chuckled at his response about picking up Melinda. He learned that her car was at the motel where the affair happened. 10 minutes later, the phone rang, displaying Melinda's number. He picked up without speaking, and after a long pause, Melinda's shaky voice broke the silence. "Tim, I don't know what you think is going on, but..." Tim's phone rang in the middle of the night. He looked at the caller ID and saw it was Melinda. With a sigh, he answered the call. Melinda, this better be good. Melinda hesitated before speaking. Tim, I need to talk to you. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. Tim's voice was cold. What do you want, Melinda? I've moved on, Melinda continued, her voice pleading. I love you, Tim. We need to work this out. Tim hung up the phone and changed his answering machine message. Hi, this is Tim. Melinda no longer lives here. Her cell number is... The next morning, Tim received a text from Melinda. Please let me in. We need to talk. Tim hesitated, but eventually agreed to let her in. As Melinda walked through the door, he could see she was exhausted. They sat down and began to talk, trying to mend their broken relationship. We debated back and forth, but I remained firm. I played a recorded phone conversation from when she was driving, revealing her talking to Ernie about their intimate moments. Her words about his sweet and tasty release echoed through the room. Melinda broke down in tears. I told her to leave and stay with her lover or whoever else she was involved with. She promised to return to resolve the situation, but her plans fell apart day after day as I relentlessly pursued the truth. On Thursday, she was confronted at work. By the end of the day, she was waiting by my car, upset. I have nothing to say to you, unkind person. I remained calm. Don't talk to me like that. You had me confronted at work. How could you? She was more upset than ever. What I've done, I can call you whatever I want. Unkind person, I made a mistake. We can work through this. I care about you, unkind person. Let's stop this and... Silliness? You're a mistake-making, silly person. Give me $20 and leave. How dare you? I am your wife, Tim. Our children are coming home tomorrow, and we need to find a way to move forward. Melinda, I need you to listen to me, I said firmly, my voice filled with a intensity that caught her attention. She looked at me nervously, her eyes darting around. You made a choice, and now you have to face the consequences. Our marriage, our family, and my trust in you are all at stake. You took a risk, but what did your decision cost you? Melinda's eyes filled with tears as she stammered. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Don't try to justify it, Melinda. You chose to be with someone else, and now you're about to lose everything. What did you gain from that choice? What did you get for putting our life together at risk? Melinda's face turned pale, and she shook her head, unable to answer my question. The weight of her actions was becoming too much for her to bear. She simply shook her head, unable to respond. You're correct. You have nothing. No gifts, no special outings, no vehicles, nothing, no hidden savings, no bag of cash. Not a single thing, right? You got nothing. Well, you're right about one thing. I have no right to call you a disrespectful person. A disrespectful person would at least get something for their actions. You acted disrespectfully towards another man and got nothing. And now you're going to lose everything. You're not even smart enough to be a decent, disrespectful person. Calling you a disrespectful person is giving disrespectful people a bad reputation. I guess that just makes you a really naive individual. I left her on the ground, crying uncontrollably. I wished her well, moving on with my life. I arrived at the lawyer's office right on time. I had quickly stopped by my house to freshen up and put on a suit. I wanted her to see me looking my best. Sitting across from her in the lawyer's office, Melinda's intense gaze should have touched my heart, but her pain was unmistakable. My expression remained steady and composed, my determination unwavering. Melinda made one final attempt to delay the inevitable, but I just looked at my watch, then back at her. Her shoulders drooped. She picked up the pen and asked the lawyer where to sign. Victory was mine. I felt like celebrating, but knew I had to remain composed. The first document she signed was the petition for divorce, stating irreconcilable differences. I had once cared about specifying adultery as the cause, but my lawyer advised against it. My lawyer was exceptional, guiding me through the process with precision. She emphasized that success hinged on understanding the other side's desires and negotiating effectively. Together, we crafted a well-orchestrated performance, complete with props and characters, to finalize the divorce terms. The document was a name change request. Melinda had to revert to her maiden name. This was a significant change for her, especially since it meant she would no longer share the same last name as her children. This was a difficult decision for her, and she cried as she let go of the shared surname. Melinda stared at the small black tray in front of her. Her expression grew somber, and a pang of sympathy stirred within me. It wasn't just acceptance of an inevitable outcome. It was the crushing weight of her losses becoming all too real. Her once negotiable concessions were now gone. Her hands trembled as she removed her wedding ring, watching it disappear from the room. She fiddled with her engagement ring, clinging to the last remnant of her past. But even that small token of hope was slipping away. "Do you know why I'm letting you keep that ring, Melinda?" he asked, his voice filled with emotion. "I gave you that ring when I asked you to be my wife. I want you to keep that ring to remember all that we promised, and all that you've thrown away." Gently, he removed his wedding band from his finger and offered it to her. "You can have this back. It's still whole and complete. I kept my promises." As if on cue, a lawyer's assistant entered the room, carrying a tray. On it was Melinda's ring, but it had been cut in two. He picked up the pieces and held them in his open hand, then tossed them into a trash can. "Worthless crap," he said, his voice filled with finality. The room fell silent, the weight of the situation heavy on everyone's hearts. Melinda leaned back in her chair, her hands trembling. Her head nodded slightly as she tried to process the information. The room grew quiet, and my sense of triumph started to fade. I couldn't help but feel a hint of sympathy for her. The next document appeared, a quitclaim deed for her share of the house. What made it significant was the stipulation that the monetary value of her share would be placed in a college trust for the children, with her as trustee until they reached adulthood. With that, we moved on to the document that had truly secured her agreement to everything that had come before. The custody agreement. My lawyer spoke clearly and decisively. "Do you understand the terms of this custody agreement? The children will live in the house, and parents will alternate staying there on a weekly basis, with custody transitions occurring between 6 and 7 p.m. on Sundays. Both parents will share expenses until the children finish college or reach legal adulthood. If you agree, please sign below." Seeing my soon-to-be ex-wife sign, I watched as tears filled her eyes. Defeat is not a pretty sight, and it lasts a long time. From the moment Melinda left the motel room with Ernie, I remained determined to pursue divorce and secure custody of the kids. Perhaps she believed she could find a way to change the situation. The kids played a significant role in my life. I made every effort to safeguard them and guarantee that Melinda and her parents could see them. I also pledged not to reveal to the children what their mother had done that led to our separation. This was expressed as, "Your mom and dad are ending their partnership, but remaining as parents." Melinda and Ernie faced a shocking revelation, as a mysterious person held incriminating video evidence against them. The evidence, although seemingly harmless, had the potential to tarnish their reputations. The mysterious person had discovered a connection between Melinda and a porn actress who resembled her. In order to use this to their advantage, they acquired several movies featuring this actress. To complete their plan, they also found videos of actors who matched a description of Ernie. Using their camcorder, they captured portions of these videos, creating a convincing scene of a motel room encounter under poor lighting conditions. This carefully crafted evidence was set to be unveiled, leaving Melinda and Ernie vulnerable and exposed. Melinda's father was eager to resolve the situation. The 2.5-inch LCD screen displayed a convincing scene that left no room for doubt. Despite her initial skepticism, Melinda's father was convinced and agreed to reconsider the divorce. The threat of the video being shared with their loved ones proved to be a powerful motivator. The final decision in the divorce was joint custody. Every other week, the agreement clearly stated that Melinda couldn't bring her significant others to the house. Call and raise. It's amusing how getting divorced impacted my interactions with women. After being betrayed by Melinda, my self-esteem took a hit. It's hard not to feel inadequate, like I'm not a good partner. Surprisingly, my new marital status seemed to attract women like a magnet. During the divorce, I chose to maintain a high level of dignity, avoiding revenge and dating. My lawyer advised against adding any complications. However, as a newly single man with good credit and financial freedom, I became an attractive prospect. Surprisingly, many women were eager to support me through this challenging period, and they were more than willing to help me rediscover my confidence. They were relentless, and I found myself eagerly anticipating my time spent at home with the kids. It was a much-needed break. Offers came from women at work, acquaintances, including some who were friendly with Melinda, and even from neighbors in my new apartment building where I stayed during my off week. It was during one of these off weeks that the first encounter occurred while I was still settling into my new place. I'd ordered pizza, and the soft knock announcing its arrival wasn't a surprise. However, the delivery person was. I recognized her as someone I'd seen in the building. I just didn't know her name. Darlene, pronounced Darlin with a yin, welcomed me to the building with a friendly demeanor. She was average in appearance and had a likable quality. We shared pizza and beers as we got to know each other. Darlene was divorced, suspecting her ex tried to be intimate with females under 18. She was personable, plump, and direct. Darlene expressed her interest in me, saying, "Tim, I like you. You seem like a real nice guy. So anytime you need the company of a woman, just call old Darlene." I nodded, unsure about my ability to handle cooking and cleaning as a newly single man. Darlene and I had a candid conversation about our preferences. She enjoyed giving and receiving oral pleasure, but only engaged in intercourse after a date. Anal was off the table. Her directness left no room for confusion. As we continued to get to know each other, Darlene quickly undressed me. Her eyes examined my appearance, and she commented on my attractiveness. This was an unusual request, but I couldn't deny the skill with which she performed a remarkable oral act. It was clear that Darlene was passionate about her work, and I felt fortunate to be in her company. It wasn't just her enthusiasm, it was her method too. She utilized her lips, tongue, and teeth skillfully. She was also hands-on in her technique. As I reached the peak of excitement, she asked me to trust her. At my nod, she gently pressed on a sensitive spot, amplifying the experience. The following night, a new adventure began. After sharing a cozy pizza dinner that we both considered a special date, we found ourselves growing closer. Our relationship blossomed, but we remained open to new experiences. A few weeks later, Darlene had to travel for work, leaving me with some free time. In her absence, she sent a friend to keep me company. Rhonda was a different kind of partner, less focused on oral, but an exceptional lover in her own right. Her unique hip movements and strong Kegel muscles created a sensual dance that left me in awe. Our connection was undeniable, and we reveled in the excitement of our shared moments. I can't deny that I was quite adventurous during the first year after my divorce. I shared intimate moments with 17 different women, but the experience felt hollow. Although I cherished the memories, I couldn't help but miss the deep connection I once had with my ex-wife, Melinda. As a way to express my anger, I didn't hide my relationships from her. Seeing her pain every Sunday night became a twisted form of satisfaction. Over time, we settled into a routine, and our children adjusted as well. Although holidays were challenging, we managed to find our way. Years passed, and we all grew older, but not necessarily wiser. Then, 4 years after the divorce, something unexpected happened. I fell in love. At a youth group gathering, the kids excitedly planned their upcoming winter adventure. As the snow began to fall, they eagerly anticipated the snow weekends ahead. A chaperone, willing to lend a hand, joined the group, making the trip even more memorable. During a ski trip, Jillian, a fellow chaperone, accidentally broke her arm. After receiving first aid from the ski patrol, I was tasked with taking her to the hospital for an X-ray and a cast. The hospital was crowded due to a traffic accident, so we decided to eat at a nearby restaurant and wait for a few hours. As Jillian and I talked and shared a meal, we discovered a strong connection between us. Attracted to her, I found myself drawn to Jillian, who seemed to reciprocate the feelings. After a month of gathering courage, I asked her out on a date. She was 21 years younger than me, but she agreed, saying her parents had a similar age gap and were still together. We started dating, and over the next few weeks, I let go of my other relationships. Jillian and I became serious quickly. 2 months into our relationship, Melinda asked if I was in love with Jillian. I was ready to deny it, but I couldn't lie. I admitted my feelings with a quiet yes. Melinda simply nodded and hugged me, saying, "You deserve to be happy." I was surprised. I realized I truly cared for Jillian, and Melinda understood and agreed with it. When I shared this with Jillian, she just smiled, saying it took me long enough. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely happy and content with myself. I realized there was something crucial I needed to do. Although I accepted Melinda's apology for her past betrayal, I never truly forgave her. It was time for me to officially forgive Melinda. As I drove over, I thought back to Melinda's attempt at an apology and explanation. The first time barely registered. It was just before we finalized our divorce and custody arrangements. Melinda requested a half-hour private meeting with me before signing. I knew what she wanted to discuss, trying to convince me to reconsider the divorce. I came prepared. On the way to the meeting, I listened to recordings of Melinda praising Ernie's intimate moments. Throughout the entire half hour, I stared at her, treating her as if she were beneath contempt. When the half hour ended, I looked at my watch and picked up a pen. Melinda knew she had failed in her mission. After the holidays, Melinda approached me about my open door, open fly dating policy. This revelation led to a difficult period in our relationship. Look, Tim, I know I made a mistake. It caused a lot of hurt in our family. Our family, Tim. The holidays were tough for everyone. Me, you, and the kids. We all felt it. I know you've been with other people, and it's been hard on all of us. We were meant to be together, Tim. All of us. I've made an appointment for us with a counselor. It's time we mend things. I've learned my lesson. Tim was taken aback. He was so surprised, so stunned by what Melinda had just said, that he couldn't respond right away. Then a wave of anger washed over him, and his mind sharpened into a cold focus. Learned your lesson? Yes, Tim. I promise to be truthful with you from now on. Melinda gave me a sincere look. I suspected she didn't really believe her own words. So, are you planning to end things with your significant other? Actually, I haven't seen or spoken to Ernie since that difficult day. Unlike you, I haven't been involved with anyone else. Ah, I see. I studied her face and nodded. Are there any specific places you prefer for your intimate moments? Or does it matter as long as it's private? How dare you! I have not been with any other man, period. Unlike you and your carefree lifestyle. She was getting pretty emotional. I decided to let her vent. Do you have any idea how painful it is to know that you leave the kids and spend your week, well, you know? 1, we're not married. 2, I'm a single guy now. And 3, like that means anything. You and I belong together. It doesn't matter that you're single. It's still cheating on me. You should stop playing around and give us a chance to get back together. I'd had enough. Look, Melinda, if you're looking for some fun, come on by some night and we can hang out. I've always had a fantasy of you, me, and another person. I'm game. The conversation ended there. Melinda tried to apologize every few months, and a year ago, she finally did it with sincerity. She had been in therapy, and it made a difference. When she spoke, her voice was softer than usual. Tim, I want to say I can't fully understand the pain I caused by betraying our marriage and lying. I'm sorry for the hurt I caused you and the kids because of my selfishness. Therapy helped me see how wrong my actions were. I'm truly sorry. Apology accepted. Melinda explained that her decision to be unfaithful stemmed from a mix of factors, including undiagnosed depression, a midlife crisis, and a loss of her values. She felt like she had lost control over her life and did it as a way to regain some power. Ernie wasn't an extraordinary romantic partner. He was just unique. Their connection wasn't anything extraordinary. It was the deception that made it seem more enticing. Melinda met Ernie through work, and their relationship began with a dance and some lighthearted flirting after hours. As time went on, Ernie and Melinda began to engage in a secretive game, sneaking around behind the user's back. During the user's absence, Ernie convinced Melinda to take a half-day off work. They met at a downtown hotel's restaurant for a meal, where they playfully flirted and shared some wine. The thrill of their secretive encounters added an exciting twist to their relationship. He asked her if she wanted to try some dessert and recommended the restaurant's specialty. He slid a room key over to her. Melinda appreciated the gesture but politely refused. He convinced her to at least check out the room's view. Once inside, Melinda discovered the room had no view. Ernie, trying to be charming, said the most beautiful view was right in front of her. Melinda playfully responded that she simply stood there, captivated by his presence. Melinda leaned against the wall, feeling Ernie's strong arms wrap around her. Their eyes met, and a spark of excitement passed between them. As they shared a passionate moment, their connection grew deeper. Ernie gently kissed Melinda, and together they entered their bedroom, ready to explore their love for each other. They spent the afternoon bonding. When I returned, Melinda showed extra affection to make up for any guilt. She was already anticipating my next trip away. Over time, Melinda grew more comfortable cheating and didn't wait for me to be out of town. Eventually, I caught her. After accepting her apology, I left without explicitly forgiving her. This was important for my growth in moving forward. Before getting serious with Jillian, I needed to forgive Melinda. On that emotional Sunday night, Melinda, the kids, and I were all shedding tears. Some were from sadness and regret, while others were from happiness. I told Melinda that even though we had gone through so much, there was still a part of me that loved her. She said the same thing, that she had never stopped loving me. I gave her a nod to show I understood. A father's wish. Life teaches us that nothing lasts forever. I loved Jillian, and she loved me, and we were content in our relationship. However, we both knew that marriage wasn't in our future. Jillian wanted children, but I had already had a vasectomy after our daughter Chena was born, and wasn't considering a reversal. Our time together had a limit, we just didn't know when it would be. We discovered the truth much sooner than we expected. On a peaceful Saturday afternoon, Jillian and I were enjoying a break from our usual routine. After spending a fun-filled day together, we received a call from Jillian's mom. Her dad had suffered a stroke and was in the hospital. The situation was dire. We wasted no time packing Jillian's bags and heading to the airport. As we said our tearful goodbyes, we knew it might be the last time we'd see each other. Jillian clung to me, her eyes brimming with tears, while I tried to offer comfort. As the time came for her to board the plane, we had to part ways. With a heavy heart, Jillian promised, "I'll never forget you or ever stop loving you." And with that, she disappeared into the crowd, leaving me with a mix of emotions. I held back my tears until I reached my car, then the emotions overwhelmed me. I was alone, and it was unbearable. I sat there realizing that my anger towards Melinda during our divorce had hidden a lot of pain I hadn't truly faced. My single life had kept me from delving deeper. Spending time with Jillian changed all that. It freed me from my anger towards Melinda and allowed my heart to embrace love once more. On Sunday morning, I went to the house. Melinda and the kids could tell something was off. When I shared what happened, they showed great understanding and support. Melinda took charge, cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. We chatted late into the night before she left. I had trouble sleeping that night. Throughout the week, I spoke with Jillian a few times, confirming our suspicions about her dad's lengthy recovery and her decision to stay with her mom. The kids were understanding and offered their support. Despite the fact that I was alone that Friday, I managed to find a way to enjoy my evening. The kids were busy with their friends, and I had no need to look for company, as Jillian had helped me overcome my past habits. I was considering what to have for dinner when the doorbell suddenly rang. Melinda, holding a pizza, a six-pack, and a warm smile, stood at the door. I greeted her with a smile, took the six-pack from her, and followed the delicious scent of the pizza as she entered the house ahead of me. We enjoyed a wonderful evening filled with laughter and conversation. It was sad to see her leave. To my surprise, I slept well that night. On Saturday, the kids were busy with their plans. I called Melinda at 3 p.m. and invited her to dinner. At first, she hesitated, but she agreed when I jokingly threatened to bring Chinese takeout to her door. Melinda directly asked, "Are you asking me out, Tim?" Her tone was both casual and inquisitive. I recognized the ambiguity in our conversation. She was being evasive, leaving it for me to clarify. Fortunately, I had already considered this possibility before calling her. "Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing." "Exactly what?" Tim asked, a smile evident in his voice. "I thought I heard something." "What you just said," she replied, trying to hide her surprise. "I wasn't going to let you catch me off guard so easily," Tim teased. "So you are then," she said cautiously. "Asking me out on a date?" "Yes, I am," Tim responded with quiet confidence. "Unless you have other plans, I don't want to impose. Maybe we can do it another time?" "No," she responded a bit too enthusiastically. "I don't have anything important planned." Tim nodded to himself. "Nice recovery." "All right," Tim continued, tone more relaxed. "If it's not a problem, I'll pick you up at 7. Is that okay?" "7 sharp is good," she agreed, sounding more comfortable. Tim waited for her next question. Tim, so what kind of place do you have in mind?" The question of whether this was a date seemed insignificant compared to another question. The real question was about what to wear. If clothes define a person, then a woman's attire reveals something. I wasn't sure what. I played my trump card. "I know no woman better at dressing for any occasion than you. I'll pick you up at 7. Bye." I ended the call immediately. In an instant, a wave of panic washed over me. I had just asked my ex-wife out on a date. A date? What was I thinking? I couldn't believe the decisions I was making. Was it a reaction to Jillian's departure? Was I trying to confuse Melinda, or was I genuinely interested in her? I felt a mix of excitement and unease. I almost called her multiple times, but I couldn't figure out why. Was I trying to apologize or explain myself? My thoughts were all over the place, and I couldn't find a clear answer. To clear my head, I took a long, hot shower. It was during that shower that I realized I needed to sort out my feelings and make better choices. Showered, cleaned, and refreshed, I still felt unsure about asking Melinda out. I had no idea what I would wear or how to approach the situation. Stepping out of the bathroom, I found Melinda in the walk-in closet, considering her outfit choices. A red bra and panties were laid out, along with a short red dress, jeans, and a tank top. She looked at me, seeking my opinion. My mind was racing, but my body responded in a way I couldn't control. Your recovery time seems to have increased with age, she commented, addressing the elephant in the room. Tim's question was answered, and he realized she had been there the whole time. Her intense stare felt like she was locking onto him. If you tell me what you want, Tim, I can better understand our destination. Tim found himself unable to speak or move, and the thought of dinner and their date seemed insignificant. Where were they going? One part of him knew exactly where he wanted to go. His heart raced rapidly. Heart rate up a bit, Tim? Your blood pressure looks good, she observed, in sync with the pounding of his chest. Did Jillian do that? Did she like you that way? I must say, Tim, it's quite striking, compelling, and very attractive. Melinda and Jillian were discussing personal grooming habits. They mentioned their smooth appearance and the potential reasons behind it. The conversation became more intimate, as Melinda playfully asked him if he found their smoothness appealing. Melinda and I were about to reach the peak of our excitement. Melinda, I don't think we should be doing this, I said, trying to maintain control. Melinda eased her grip and slowly disengaged from our embrace. The intensity built as we continued, and eventually, we reached the climax of our passion. Overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment, we collapsed onto the floor, still connected. That's how the kids discovered us. I'd completely forgotten about their presence. They returned home from their dates when they heard Melinda scream. The shock of the situation will likely leave them scarred, claiming the kitty. That night, the kids went on their dates, while Melinda and I had our own adventure. Well, sort of. Midway through dinner, we couldn't stand the intense tension any longer. We rushed home and, well, let's just say we spent a passionate evening together. The following morning, we were roused from our slumber by the kids gently knocking on our bedroom door. Modestly covered, we welcomed them into our room with a warm smile. Their expressions were difficult to decipher, a mix of wariness, weariness, and anticipation. Are you two back together? They asked, straight to the point, as only young people can. Melinda's voice held a mix of determination and sorrow as she spoke. We need to work on our relationship. She paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. How about we all try to find common ground and make things better? If it's all right with you, I'd like to move back in here with you, as a family, as soon as possible. There was a moment of silence before the response came. What? Melinda's body shook with a mixture of fear and anger. I think we all need time, counseling, and patience, but I don't see any other way. Do you? Melinda's reaction was intense. She threw her arms around me and kissed me passionately. The bedroom door slammed shut, and a muffled yes could be heard from the other side. Melinda was determined to make sure things went smoothly. I'll do whatever it takes to ensure we succeed. It might take a while, she said with conviction. She was indeed meticulous, and it seemed like